Afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you all on the call, ready to learn about academic success here at Georgia Tech, which we um, really value and put together a lot of programs and support for students to participate in and appreciate. To find that healthy balance between academic support and extracurricular experiences on campus. So we can go to the next slide. Um, So we are going to break this presentation up into two sections, tutoring and academic support. And Sarah Beth will take lead on some of the academic services that we have in place, such as tutoring, what those different positions look like, and how we support students where they are. And then I will talk a little bit about academic coaching, which is a program that we have in our Department of Academic Success and Advising, our umbrella department, that focuses on building relationships with students from a staff perspective and helping them kind of acclimate on campus and serve as kind of like an accountability partner for our students who might be just joining us on campus, or sometimes even just recognizing that they need additional support later throughout their experience here at Tech. So we are housed within the Office of Academic Success and Advising, ASA for short. These are some of the programs that live in our office space and some of the conversations that we feel comfortable sharing a little bit more as far as additional services and support services that we offer our students. So we offer tutoring and academic support specifically. Sarah Beth will lead that conversation. Again, academic coaching, I will lead that conversation. We also have first generation initiatives, retention and completion initiatives, and specialized advising that all kind of live within our office. And we can talk briefly about any of those should you have any additional questions, but definitely an opportunity for you to connect students to our office if they're having some of those questions about I'm struggling academically, where should I go for help, or I'm stuck and I need an accountability partner, I need someone to talk to, my roommate is no longer cutting it. Maybe we can refer to them to coaching, or if your student identifies as a first generation student, there's a lot of programs and services and events and initiatives that we can connect them to with our Office of First Generation. And then specialized advising, if you know that your student is or planning to be on a pre-health track, a pre-professional graduate professional track, and just wants to talk to a advisor and some of those and have some of those conversations about what's next, how to apply to grad school, how to apply to medical school. We have advisors in-house that will be ready to have some of those important conversations, and will be kind of a supplement to their academic advisor. So a little bit about us as presenters. My name is Erica Chaviano, and I'm the Assistant Director of Peer Tutoring Programs here in the Office of Tutoring and Academic Support. I received my master's degree at Buffalo State University in higher education, and I've been at Georgia Tech for almost going on 4 years. And again, I'm super excited to be talking to you all today.
Hi, everybody. Super excited to share more with you about the resources that we have within tutoring, academic coaching, all the resources hopefully that your students find beneficial or will find beneficial. My name is Sara Beth Montgomery. I work with Erica within tutoring and academic support. Specifically, I manage our learning assistant programs and our drop-in tutoring programs. I've been at Georgia Tech for just over a year now, and I am super excited to kind of share more about what we do. So I'll go ahead and kind of start with some of our tutoring programs. So tutoring and academic support is kind of the umbrella term that we use to kind of define all the different programs that we have within our tutoring support. So all of these programs, first, we like to say the goal is not just to help students be successful in their classes or just to get an A. Obviously, that is one of the goals, but also we want to make sure that we're creating good, self-directed, self-sufficient learners. So when a student comes to tutoring, to a plus session, to drop-in tutoring, we want them to feel comfortable in the content, but also have the skills available so that they can find other resources and be more self-directed in their whole learning experience. So they're not just coming for quick answers. Hopefully they're really coming to become well-rounded learners. And we kind of train all of our employees on that as well. So 3 kind of programs that we offer are big umbrella programs. The first is a one-to-one tutoring. So this is our appointment-based tutoring model, something that you might be more familiar with. It's that kind of traditional style of tutoring. And so we'll talk more about how we do this and the way that the platform that we use, but we use an app called Knack. And it's like Uber for tutoring. So students can get paired with another Georgia Tech student who is a tutor on the app. And this app has the capability, and the tutors that work for it has the capability to support over 150 courses at Georgia Tech. So it's not necessarily just those high demand STEM courses. A lot of upper level classes are also offered through our one-to-one tutoring with Knack. So again, that's kind of the more traditional tutoring model that you might be familiar with. We also have our Plus program and our LA program, which is our peer-led undergraduate study, and our learning assistant program. So these are similar programs where a student may not necessarily have to seek out help. So they're going to have rather a student that works for our office that's embedded inside the classroom, and they're going to be working with all the students inside that classroom. So typically those people, if they're an LA or a Plus leader, might have slightly different roles, but they'll typically work closely with the faculty member or the professor in that class. They'll usually host some sort of office hours and then have some sort of maybe group style tutoring or some sort of study sessions every week where they can meet together for everybody in that section. And then our last kind of big program is our drop-in tutoring program. So similar to one-to-one tutoring, it's that same kind of traditional tutoring model, but it might not necessarily be just one-to-one, and it's not necessarily appointment-based. So we have drop-in hours in our center, different drop-in centers across campus as well, where we have set times that students are here, or student tutors are here, where students can literally just pop in and out. So our office is located in the Clough building, which tends to be a high traffic area for students, and students do a lot of studying. So sometimes we always tell students, hey, if you're in here studying, you get, caught on a math problem, come see us in our morning drop-in center, or come see us in our math lab. We usually have drop-in hours. Try to have them at peak times when students are available, and they can literally, no appointment needed, walk in and get the support they need. They could stay for 5 minutes or they could stay for 3 hours. The unique thing about drop-in is it's not necessarily for every single class at Georgia Tech, like one-to-one tutoring through Knack. Instead, a lot of them tend to be our more high-demand 1,000 and 2,000 level STEM courses. So we focus a lot on our math, physics, chemistry, CS courses. So we have some kind of targeted support in those areas. Like I said, Knack is a somewhat newer initiative at Georgia Tech. It's been around for just a couple years now, and it is something that students really, really enjoy because they have the power to kind of make and create their own appointments. So they can download the Knack app or go to the website. And like I said earlier, it's literally like Uber for tutoring. So they may start to notice that they might struggle in a course. All they have to do is go to Knack, send a call out for a tutor, and they'll get connected with the tutor. The tutors get pinged, and then they can pick up classes to work with our students, either online or in person in our center or in other places across campus. All of these services, not just Knack, but every other one that I've talked about, are free for students. They're already paying technically for them within their tuition. So we really encourage students to use them. We hire student employees, and so they get paid to help our students for free, which is just a really cool kind of thing that they get to always work with another student. And students that have done well and recently taken those classes, which I think is really valuable because they have a kind of different insight than maybe a professional tutor might have. So if your student hasn't downloaded Knack, or maybe you can pass on information. If they get stuck in a course, all you have to remember is Knack, and they can literally just Google Georgia Tech Knack, and it takes them through step-by-step on how to get connected with a tutor for free. So like I said, Knack kind of is open for most of our courses that we have at Georgia Tech, but we do have more high demand classes. Like I said, our math, physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, and CS tend to be more of our more well-visited courses. But we do have the ability on Knack to support more courses than that as well. So I think, yeah, so just some quick highlights about our center. Like I said, everything is free. All of our resources, we love being able to offer them for our Georgia Tech students. Being free hopefully makes it more accessible. We really try to break down the stigma, and I think Georgia Tech does a really great job at encouraging help and using those resources. We have great relationships with the faculty members that teach a lot of these courses, and they do a lot of work in encouraging students to use these resources. Most of our resources can also be done online or in person, which I think can be very beneficial for students if you have, more of a busy schedule, or you like being in person, talking with somebody face to face. That can also be arranged. Something unique as well is most of our first year students, the courses that they take are likely supported from one of our services. So we said here more than 50% of the first year schedules can receive tutoring. So a lot of times in those first year or even year or two, they're taking those math classes, they're taking like chemistry, organic chemistry, physics. So a lot of those courses that they're taking in those first couple years, we have targeted support for. So it's very likely that the courses that your student has on their schedules, we definitely have support for. Like I mentioned earlier, we have some options where they can study kind of together in a group setting. So not only can it benefit them in their courses, but they're also able to connect with others that have those same classes and just feel more comfortable in the space by meeting other people. And this is a picture of our somewhat newly renovated tutoring center. So like I said, we're in the Clough building, so we're pretty central on campus. We're connected to the library, and it's has a lot of student traffic. Students kind of fight over study space in this building. So we love being there and being available for students as they're studying. They can pop in or just being around if they have questions or anything like that. So those are some highlights from our tutoring programs.
Thank you, Sarah Beth. And just to piggyback off of that, one of the true purposes and goals for our department is simply to help students recognize that asking for help at Georgia Tech is not something bad, not something that they should fear or that they should feel less than because of them asking for help. We recognize that your students are the best of the best, and coming to Georgia Tech can be intimidating for students to get here and recognize that their peers are also just as smart as they are. And so one of the barriers that we have, and so we really appreciate having conversations with parents, is that students tend to have a complex about asking for help. And so our tutoring services and the way that we organize our space and the way that we try to accommodate to different learning styles and our flexibility in delivering of these services is all in an approach to meet students where they are and to give them the confidence and the comfortability that asking for help is actually the way to achieve academic success at Georgia Tech. And so we actually have confirmed in our data that the students who actually excel the most in their courses are the students that come and receive the academic support services that we offer. So those students tend to achieve higher academic success. And so those students tend to also be the students that are already doing well and use our services as kind of like I just want to double, triple check that I'm on track and that I'm talking to students who are super familiar with the content and using our tutors as kind of ping pong games and making sure that they feel, prepared for exams or prepared to submit homework assignments. So we encourage, all parents and students who may be on this call to recognize that Georgia Tech is an elite university, and it is super important to recognize that asking for help and to organize support like academic coaching is highly encouraged. And so what is academic coaching and how does it couple with tutoring and academic support? So coaching is, again, a free service that provides students with the chance to work individually with professional staff members to overall discuss different type of conversations related to academic skills, gaining confidence as they acclimate to Georgia Tech, whether that be as a transfer student or as a first year student, just kind of getting situated and recognizing this new experience and having someone to unpack that with. Discover motivation. Again, students might come to Georgia Tech, have that first failed exam, and sometimes don't recover without the appropriate support and without the resources that we put put in place, it can be really disheartening to come into your first semester at college and super excited and recognize that this may be a little bit harder than I anticipated. So during coaching appointments, we go over motivation and organizing, time management skills, and just helping students create plans for improved performance, but then also just improved experiences on campus. So it's really an accountability partner, where I mentioned before, students will sometimes depend on their roommate or maybe their friends, sorority sisters, or classmates to serve as that person who can kind of hold them accountable, and person to have conversations that are shared in similar experiences. An academic coach is someone who is a professional staff member, sometimes professional faculty member, and really just there to not serve as an advisor in a capacity to guide the student's trajectory of classes, but more so to serve as someone who has familiarity with the climate and culture of Georgia Tech, and who has some background knowledge on some skills that students may not recognize as valuable, or even just recognize as important to acknowledge. Like we mentioned, the whole time management situation. There's a lot of conversations that are going on in coaching, in the academic coaching world, that really stem in how students are managing their time, and not recognizing that by having some of those conversations with an academic coach, it can kind of help students move along throughout the semester, prioritizing different initiatives and focusing their academics around, or centering their academics around other things. You can go on, Sarah. So, what is the purpose of academic coaching? So, it can be kind of something where students are kind of confused. Am I meeting with a student? Am I meeting with a peer? Am I meeting with my faculty? Am I meeting with my advisor? You're meeting with a combination of all of those things. And the really purpose is to get students to realize their true potential. And so, it is really recognizing that students will come in and they are, confident and maybe performing in their comfort zone, doing things that maybe they've done in high school. I was an academic coach a couple of semesters ago, and we really highlighted a couple of students who did not make the connection that study strategies in high school in comparison to study strategies in college are two completely different things. And so unpacking the amount of time dedicated for high school studies and the amount of time dedicated for college studies are two completely different experiences. And so we kind of go over and chart and map things that help students recognize that time is a very important experience for them to start getting some for them to really start prioritizing and recognizing that without a plan for the day and without a plan for the semester, we kind of go over the 15 weeks in an academic semester and break down each week, helping the student recognize, start putting in a calendar when your exams are, and start organizing your schedule to include all of your due dates, and just giving students a sense of time and a sense of overview. Again, so it's taking them from their comfort zone, where they might be optimizing what they're familiar with and not realizing their full potential, which is what we kind of consider that learning zone. And so it's really to just help students break out of the comfortability of how they traditionally are learning, or how they anticipated college will be, and helping them realize where they are and how to give them some support and motivation to navigate those spaces. So these are some of the 10 executive functioning skills for success that we prioritize when delivering content or delivering academic coaching conversations with students. So we kind of go over planning, which I spoke a little bit about. It is very rare that if your student is enrolled in a CS 1301 course, Physics 1 or 2, maybe even a transfer student coming in and taking a couple of those higher end STEM courses, that these executive functioning skills are going to be the foundation of a conversation in that classroom. So by booking an appointment with an academic coach, these are some of the conversations that we're having. And again, these are sometimes absent absent in the traditional experiences as faculty deliver content for their specific courses. So we do go over planning, we do go over time management, we go over organization not only within their academics, but recognizing that students are very complex and very involved in many different avenues on campus, and how to help them recognize this is what needs to happen for me to be academically successful, while also supporting their interests and outside endeavors on campus. And so just helping them understand what that organization looks like. Other things, the idea of flexibility, how to focus their attention. There's also research that suggests that different majors learn differently. So, if I have a student or a coach is having an appointment with a student who is a STEM major, or who's specifically a chemistry major, or who's specifically a math major, there's some different strategies that we go over with them that sometimes can kind of help them understand how to better note take, or how to better engage with the material afterwards. We go over this concept, the T zone, right? The T zone is this idea of where should you be sitting when you go to class. Some students will assume to sit in the front. Some students will arbitrarily sit in the back, and maybe just have from a comfortability perspective. And so there's this concept that students sitting in that T zone, the first row and then the first row back, tend to be more engaged, tend to receive the information a little bit more easy, tend to have a better relationship with faculty. So we kind of go over some skills like that to encourage students to make some of those decisions as they are in those spaces. And we spoke a little bit more about the idea of time management and perseverance, right? So students will have challenge, and students will have defeat even sometimes. How they deal with that and the support that is surrounding them to be able to navigate in those spaces is some of the conversations that we're having in academic coaching, is how to help them realize this may be the first time that you failed a course. This may be the first time you failed a quiz or an exam, and that's okay. This is not the end of your experience. This is not the recap of your journey. It's just a bump in the road. And sometimes students who are so high achieving, and most all of our students at Georgia Tech are high achieving, they need someone who has that support and that motivation to help them recognize that this is just one experience, and planning for the future experiences will only help them progress in the future. I'm looking at the questions. Will this be posted? Yes, we will be sharing the recording and the PowerPoint, and hopefully the academic coaching executive functioning slide helped with some of those questions. So the process of academic coaching. So what does it look like? So students will fill out a form. At the end of this PowerPoint, we'll share a QR code. We'll share some more information about how students can connect with academic coaches. But students will kind of fill out a form saying, hey, I'm interested in meeting with a coach. And then they will meet with the coach in person or online. And the coach will kind of organize the appointment to start off with recognizing what the student's goals are, and what the student would appreciate leaving the meeting having more information, or having more of an opportunity to discuss. So identifying the challenges, identify what the student is there for, to make sure that we're making the most out of our time and making the most out of the student's visits. And then we kind of assess. We think as coaches, what can we do? What resources can we provide? So as coaches, some of us are embedded into the community of Georgia Tech beyond our roles. And so we know a little bit more about additional resources on campus that we can connect students to. So we assess the situations, we hear the student out. The student does majority of the talking. The student does majority of leading the conversations, and we fill in and we help the student reflect and give them a space of accountability, but then also a space again of motivation. After we kind of identified the challenges, we spoke a little bit about how we can help students and connect with them, or just hear them out and understand their voice of reason. Then we move into an action plan. And this is sometimes where other support avenues, like your roommate, is not necessarily the best approach to finding success at Georgia Tech, right? Because without the action plan, the whole first portion of this conversation really is pointless, right? So we came in, we had a challenge, we set some goals, but then now we're here to come up with an action plan. So students come to us with different type of situations. I'm not performing well on my exams, or I'm not feeling like I'm taking the best notes, or I'm feeling like I'm not acclimating academically. Like I feel like I don't know how to build relationships with my faculty member, all of these different type of situations. Or I feel overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like the day is slipping by. I feel like I'm constantly in the library. I'm constantly studying. Nothing's grasping. Like, these are some of the conversations that some of our students are having. And so as a coach, we kind of sit down with the student. organize an action plan. That sometimes is as simple as having the student map out their day from the moment that they wake up to the moment that they go back to bed. And so sometimes in high school, with everything kind of being routine for the last 4 years, them being kind of encouraged by their families, you all to have a set kind of routine and not recognizing that this might be the first time that they have to create that routine on their own and be able to prioritize what is important, how they're going to prioritize their academics, and also incorporate the other experiences of navigating life as a first year student or as a transfer student or as just a student in general. So we work with them to kind of create the action plan. And then the part that I appreciate the most is the idea of encouraging a follow-up conversation. Sometimes the follow-up can be just an email message. Sometimes the follow-up is another meeting. And so really what this is to help the student find accountability to achieving the goals that we set at the beginning of the appointment. So recognizing that this is what I want to accomplish today. I want to feel better in my time management. I want to feel like I'm making the more use of my time. I want to feel like I'm more aware of resources on campus. I want to feel like I have a better understanding of study strategies. And then when we have that follow-up meeting with students, we have a conversation with them about some of the progress that they've made since our last meeting. And so again, these are not things that students to students are sometimes having conversations that they're having with each other. And so this is why an academic coach differs from an advisor, how it differs from a faculty member, how it differs from students. It really is that intentionality behind this entire process. And then that follow-up being the kind of glue to say, maybe you accomplished one or two of the goals that we created. Maybe you didn't accomplish any, and that's okay. And then we'll just redo it and make sure that we come up with a plan that's more in line with where you are and maybe take scaling back some of the goals and targeting some of the ones that are the most pressing. So academic coaching is a very unique experience and opportunity for students to take advantage of. Students sometimes are unaware that this service exists, and then when they do find out about it and take advantage of it, recognize that it's super beneficial for them in their academic journey. And so hopefully that provides a little bit more of an idea of some of the conversations we're having, but then also what that process looks like. So we spoke a little bit about the idea of that shared responsibility between a counseling appointment, an academic coaching appointment, and an advising appointment. And so counseling generally aimed at improving students' well-being. So for example, social emotional well-being, learning disabilities, maybe ADHD. Counseling conversations tend to be more geared in that regard, where academic coaching focuses more on the co-construction of academic and non-academic goals between the coach and the student. So it emphasizes the relationship building and trust, focusing on motivation, developing student confidence, self-efficiency, and the students guiding them through their academic skills. So this is a collaborative conversation where we're talking about a lot of different variations of situations that are happening with students on campus, and where maybe in comparison to an advising appointment, where that is maybe focusing a little bit more on policies, curriculum, specific trajectory programs to graduation, specific advice for academic plans. The academic coaching experience really is the hybrid of them both. So we speak to students on their social issues, and we speak to issues, some of their overall acclimating to college experiences that maybe sometimes a counselor may also engage with. But then and then in the advisor capacity, we do speak to students about content knowledge and specifically targeting study strategies to their specific programs. We do speak to students about resources on campus and recognizing when it's appropriate to go to a counselor, when it's appropriate to go to an advising appointment, and then when the academic coaching experience would be the most useful and beneficial for your student. But there is some overlay, and I think that we all kind of work together to find which service the student would best benefit from. But the academic coaching experience does have a little bit of a hybrid of both different versions of advising. So we meet students where they are. The goal of our appointment is not to leave here with the idea of us fixing our students. There's the idea that we are going to create a plan and naturally and creatively help the student recognize that they are in a student development experience and helping them navigate in that space, not fix it, but navigate. Coaching reflects what the student presents. So we actively are listening to determine if a student's words and actions are in alignment. So we kind of just serve as, again, that accountability partner, recognizing that sometimes students think things and then when they hear them say it out loud, it's a completely different experience. Or maybe they're thinking that I've done 3 hours of studying, but after kind of hearing us talk it through, they've only done an hour and a half for physics 2, which is probably not realistic. And so we kind of help them align their goals, help them align what they want out of this experience, and kind of create plans to support that. And then we're an active partner. So coaching is student driven as a coach and not an expert. So we have coaches, again, who are staff members from all disciplines around campus, some faculty member who are also coaches. So it's kind of a group of people made up of a group of people who are made up of just support agents on campus who want to help students in different capacities. So I may have an appointment with a student, and when I was coaching a couple semesters before, that wasn't related to academic support and tutoring, which is my area of expertise on campus. I may have been speaking to the student about imposter syndrome and how that student feels like being at Georgia Tech, it doesn't feel real, and they feel like they are beating themselves up because they don't think they deserve to be here. So these are a group of people made of different backgrounds and expertise, but just hoping to serve as a champion for our students and promoting us accountability from the very beginning. So our mantra in academic success and advising, specifically in tutoring and academic support and academic coaching, is that successful students ask for help. So if you recognize that your student may benefit from any of these resources, whether it be tutoring, and so there's a lot of different flavors of tutoring, and we like to promote that to parents to recognize if you think your student would benefit from that one-to-one traditional model of tutoring, one person to one person, sitting down for 60 minutes, going over content, going over different concepts. One-to-one tutoring on the NAC platform would be ideal. If your student would prefer to do that virtually, maybe they live at home, maybe they live in the residence halls and commuting to campus is a little bit more difficult. There's a virtual component of having that one-to-one experience. And then again, the idea of the embedded tutor, a conversation that you can have as a parent is to say, hey, I was wondering, is there a plus leader in your class, or is there a learning assistant in your class? And so having those kind of conversations with your students to let them know, like, there might be academic support built in the classroom already without you even having to leave. And so kind of just highlighting how students can utilize the success of our students, student employees who are plus leaders in LAs, and how they can build relationships and networking professional opportunities with those staff members are conversations that we encourage you to have with your students. So tell me about your plus leader. Tell me about some of the classes, or tell me about some of the study sessions that you've gone to in the evening that maybe your plus leader has hosted, or your office hours that maybe your LA has hosted. And again, if a student is enrolled in a course that they have a plus leader or an LA, they would know it. The LA and the plus leader introduce themselves at the beginning of the class. The faculty member relies on the plus leader and the LA to kind of form relationships in class to build that relationship amongst the students and our leaders. So if they're in a class that has either an LA or plus leader, they would know. And I would say a good chunk of our first year courses, I don't want to give a random statistic, but I would say a good chunk of our first year students are engaging in courses that have some type of additional supports coming through our office. Um, and then drop-in tutoring, if your student is not on the side of just yet figuring out the balance of making appointments on their own and taking on that responsibility and ownership to sit down and actually schedule something, which we know for sometimes freshman students can be difficult and a challenge, they can just pop in. So if you are noticing that your student is mentioning that they're struggling with their academics, we encourage you to kind of just help them recognize that in the tutoring center, there's walk-in help, on-demand help. Students don't have to wait for any type of assistance. They can come in and speak with someone, whether it be a TA, whether it be a tutor, to kind of have that additional support for students who may be making an appointment has not crossed their mind yet, but still need some type of like on-demand support. And so that's academic support and advising, tutoring and academic support and coaching. And we'll save some time to ask any questions that you may have.
Thank you all so much. That was great information. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna start with the Q&A first, if that's okay. Yep. Okay, so this question says, can students schedule recurrent tutoring through NAC with the same tutor to have consistency?
Yes, they can. And we highly encourage it. And they can set that up arrangement with the tutor at the beginning of the semester or whenever they match with a tutor that they really like and that they really appreciate it, they can set reoccurring appointments with that individual tutor. Um, yeah.
So this question says, my son is interested in being a tutor. Who should he contact to discuss what he can offer?
He can contact any one of us, Sarah Beth or myself. We do have a tutoring.gottech.edu alias that comes to our office, and we kind of go over inquiries of students inquiring about being a tutor or asking for some type of tutoring question. And so that's tutoring.gottech.edu, and they'll get in contact with somebody from our office to connect them to some resources.
We also have info on our website too, tutoring, and they can hit the Join Us tab and it has info on how they can apply.
Oh, and anything that we're noting in this webinar, if you're watching this as a recording, you click through the post, these things that we're mentioning, there'll be links, there'll be some slides and all of that in there. So if you don't mind, usually by tomorrow morning, we're trying to get it sooner, but no later than tomorrow morning, we'll have the post including the slides and the links that we're referencing throughout this webinar. Let's see. Will this be posted? Yes, yes, this will be posted as of tomorrow morning. The next question here, does academic coaching also help with executive functioning skills?
Yeah, I think if we went back in the presentation, Sarah Beth, we had highlighted some of those executive functioning skills that we do go over. And to be honest, the conversation is really guided by the student. And so these are some of the conversations that we are prepared to have as coaches with some of those executive functioning skills, but we allow the student to kind of navigate that space and kind of lead us where they think the conversation would best suited for them. But yes, some of that is definitely covered in a traditional coaching appointment.
Awesome. This is just to kind of sing you guys' praises. As a parent of a freshman student, I am so impressed. I'm truly impressed with all the wonderful things and the support that Tech has to offer. This has truly been a great start for my scholar this year. So just wanted to let you guys hear that from
Great.
our parents. They are very grateful. Uh, to the question about the website, we will definitely send that to you all in a post from the Hive. Next question is, how difficult is it to available of the various options? Is there a long wait for help?
That's a good question. So I think for tutoring, I would say there's too many different ways to connect with some type of academic support. There can be sometimes during our busier seasons where students might have to maybe submit a request or two on the NAC app. On the NAC platform to find help because students are all looking for help, right? So we're about to enter our midterm season. And so some of us are already in midterm season. And so this is our busy time for students. They have just recognized that midterm grades are in and they are not satisfied. And so the NAC app tends to be a little bit busy. And so to remind you, just the NAC app is Georgia Tech students. So these are also students that are currently enrolled at Georgia Tech who are serving as peer educators. So it can be sometimes a little bit tricky to book an appointment during our busiest of times, which is why the reoccurring appointment feature is super beneficial. But there should always be some type of academic support in our drop-in process to kind of just pop in and get some academic support throughout the day. We have day hours of support, but then our plus sessions, our group style study sessions, those are tend to lean more towards the evening, sometimes even in the later evening as far as 9 o'clock at night. So reaching our audience that supports or who's looking for daytime support, but then also looking for nighttime support. Academic coaching, again, same type of experience. It can differ. I mean, it can relate just based off of the volume of students who are asking for appointments. And during the times where students are recognizing that maybe they're struggling and need a little bit of a check-in, things can get a little bit busy, which is kind of right about now. So we encourage students to kind of pre-plan those visits and to reach out to a coach before it gets busy so we can set some of those goals beforehand and not try and like figure out a makeshift plan 2 weeks before the semester ends.
Okay, I think it kind of answers your question, Elizabeth. If not, feel free to add some more details to your question, but it looks like what Erica said does pertain to it. So perhaps considering making sure that the student is reaching out earlier than later for that tutoring help, or if it is academic coaching, same for that. Any other questions? We're going to do a last call before we end our session. And while we're waiting, I just want to thank you all again for taking the time to speak with our parents, give all this great information. And if you don't mind, like you said, send those slides over and we'll post all of this there. So that way, if you have questions, concerns, they can definitely reach out to you guys and have that direct resource. Yay, just some thank yous. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, everybody's giving you all the thank yous. If you want to react, there's a react button at the bottom. But I will go ahead and stop the recording here. And like you said, if you have any other questions or concerns, make sure that you reach out to us via the Hive.